Ah, wow. I see Dane now.
Oh, there you go. Cool. He's got him. He's got him right.
Now where's Duma?
Don't worry about me. I'm the lowest on the
Ah,
totem pole here.
hey, there he is.
Welcome to another episode of StabMic. I'm Damien Farrenfort, joined alongside Dane Reynolds, and today we have a very special guest, Kelly Slater. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks guys. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, likewise. Where does this podcast find you?
I'm in New Zealand.
And what are you doing there?
I'm down at this golf tournament, and then I'm doing a little bit of stuff with the Board of Tourism down here at the same time. So anyway, just kind of a family trip. Kalani and I got the kid down here, and she doesn't have much time before we have the next baby, so we're trying to get some travel in.
Yeah, congrats on that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
You know better than me, man.
How far apart are they going to be?
almost 22 months, 21 months, something like that.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah, not quite.
It's about the same as mine. I can't believe you went for another round, Kelly. Like, one, you can have your old life, but two, it's game over.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that a question?
No, not really.
I can't believe you had another kid. Okay, well, I'll put him back.
Yeah, no. I want another one. I want to catch up today and have a third.
Yeah.
But new kid on the way, new hip. How are you feeling post surgery?
I think it'll be better than before. You know, I've been surfing with through a lot of pain last few years. Probably last almost 4 years, I've been kind of in a lot of pain every time I surf. So, um, it was. I don't think there was going to be any negatives to the surgery. So I'm happy I did it, and I'm uh, I'm hopeful. You know, like I got a call. Laird heard about my hip, and he called me and literally like yelled at me like an older brother, like, "Get in, see my doctor. Get you. What are you doing?" He's like, "I got to get rid of my other hip, and I want to." So he was going to get. He had one hip done like 6, 7 years ago, and then he was going to get his other hip done, and he said, "I can't wait to get my other hip because my fake hip feels better than my real hip ever did." So I feel
You
pretty
actually
good about
got
it.
you actually got a fake hip installed?
Yeah, full hip replacement. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, it sounds so gnarly. That was kind of my reaction like a few years ago. And so I tore my labrum when I was 19 at Sunset, and that's why I hate Sunset Beach. And then I was injured basically till I was like 30, but I could kind of get through it. I tore my labrum really bad. When I did the injury, I thought I broke my femur was the feeling I had. And I free fell and like went into the splits at the bottom off of like 10 foot, 12 foot free fall. And then I sort of struggled with that, but I still had enough strength in my hip and leg to kind of do my thing. And then I had surgery when I was 30 or 28, and then I had surgery again like 3 years ago, and neither of them really did the trick. So this was kind of the final option, and I actually feel pretty good about it. The range of motion is already better than it was.
Nice. Needed a new one.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
archaic the way they do it, where they hack the top of
Oh,
that bone off the ball.
they literally almost cut half your leg off, and then yeah, pretty wild.
Anyway, let's dive into Stab in the Dark. It's been almost a year since you shot it, and have you had a chance to watch the episodes? Have you been watching them and kind of reflecting back on it?
I haven't watched anything actually. I've just seen a couple of clips on Instagram, but I haven't watched the episodes at all. I was kind of waiting. Maybe when the last one comes out, I'll just watch them all at once. Um, I'm sorry, my kid's yelling in the background. Um,
All good.
yeah, I most of the feedback's been pretty good. Sounds like it's a tough thing. I mean, Dane, you've done it. Maybe has Dane, have you done it more than once?
I
Or just one?
did I did two, and then
Yeah.
like the one with all the weird boards, the electric test as well. Yeah,
So
I've done them.
so that's three different ones then?
Yep.
Oh wow. And how did you find the Stab in the Dark? Because I'll tell you, I hadn't watched any of them, and I recently watched Taj's one, and he had like, I don't know, 18 boards or something, 16 boards. And I could pretty clearly see in each surf if the board was working for him or not. But I when I think I talked to Sam about yours, and he was saying you would just go, "Oh, this board sucks" or whatever. Like you were really decisive about the boards really quickly. Whereas
Hmm.
I wanted to try and give them each a little bit of time in different types of waves to see if they like were good in some surf and maybe not as good in other surf or vice versa. But I
Mine
did
seemed like
I
they had a lot more variety than yours. Everybody kind of knows what you like and ride, I think, or
yeah.
at least, yeah. I mean, with the 5 fin and the pintail, round pin.
Yeah. And I don't know whether Sam directed that exactly or they decided on that themselves, but I would have had no problem with every board being super individual from what I ride.
Yeah, I honestly had a lot more fun doing the electric acid test, where it was just like very large variety of different styles of boards. It was, I don't know, I guess more clear cut.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, look, I have a bunch of weird boards. Like over the years, I've just collected all kinds of boards. Like I have a Glenn Winton 6 fin. I have a bunch of weird Tommy Peterson boards. I have I just have this really vast array of surfboards. I have a board that Tom Carroll made me when I was like 20 years old, 21 years old. We shaped boards for each other. And I was thinking it'd be kind of fun to do a stab in the dark with or a electric acid test with somebody where like Sam and I go through my garage, pick all these different boards, and then have somebody ride each of them, and then see what kind of comes out in the mix. But they're all such unique surfboards. That would be kind of a fun way to do it too.
I think that sounds like Stab's next project. Sounds very entertaining.
Congrats, you just signed yourself up for Stab in the Dark 11.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah, and producing.
Did you enjoy the project as a whole? How did they get you even on board?
I've sort of always wanted to do one, but I've just been really like time poor because I've been on tour for so long. So I didn't have a lot of in between downtime, but I kind of always en enjoyed thinking about doing it. And then it finally came together because I had a couple weeks in Australia, and then it was just a little bit tricky to like, man, how many boards did you have in the ones you did?
I don't remember
Like a dozen or more, you think?
You had 11 or
Maybe
12.
10, 11. Yeah, more than you had six?
Six only, yeah.
Six.
I just find like the problem for me is my kid was just starting swim lessons, and then like being a new dad, I don't know about if you remember much when your first kids were born, but like that first like 6 months, you don't really totally know your program. I don't know. I just was struggling to like
Still, yeah.
fit it all in. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I don't
And
think you
so
ever figure out your program with the kids.
maybe, but then that combined with like my back was really bad. Actually, for 4 days during the filming, I don't know if you knew this or not, Damon, but like 4 days during the filming, my back went out and I couldn't get out of bed and even walk.
There's a sound that I'll never forget for as long as I live. But after we surfed Stratty that day, we had, I think it's coming up in the next episode, we had this incredible afternoon at Stratty, and then we're hanging out, taking some photos of Mikey and Kelly, because Mikey was shooting electric acid at the time. We're getting some photos of them with the different boards, and Kelly was leaning against this wall. We were getting pictures, and we're kind of just telling stories. And it was the afternoon. And when you went to go stand up, your back seized, and you just like creased over for a second, and then put your fist in your back and just cracked it. And that
Yeah.
sound, and then you were kind of like able to walk and get to your car, but that sound I'll never forget. It was brutal.
Yeah, I got pretty bad scoliosis, and once in a while when I get really like if I don't sleep enough or if I'm traveling too much, I get inflamed and my back just like goes out. And I had it happen at J-Bay one year, and they were gonna run that day, and they called it off, and I was so glad because it was so bad I could only walk down the stairs in the morning and back up once in the day. Like I literally couldn't walk. I was like holding on to stuff. So I've struggled with this back thing, but it went out. Luckily, there was 4 days it was basically flat on the Gold Coast, and my back went out on those days, and I couldn't move. So Kalani was basically bringing me food in bed, and so I couldn't really surf all day, and but we did get those moments. Like Stratty was super fun. Snapper had some fun waves here and there. I got a couple waves at D-Bob, but I couldn't have done full day surfs anyways. And the
You're
point being
surfing
that,
really good.
oh, thanks. I
That's
felt
insane to be bedridden one day and surf like that the next. That's crazy.
I felt like I sort of got the job done enough. I wasn't like peak performance surfing or something, but I felt like I was just at surfing good enough to figure out the boards. But it's hard because you got to put in enough time on each board. Because there was only 6 boards, I felt like I needed to give more time to each board, and
Yeah.
like, and plus, obviously there's a weird dynamic with me having a board company, and then these other top name shapers making boards for me. So I didn't want to at any point, even like one of the boards I really didn't like, I didn't want to like, oh, this board sucks, or you know, s- like I didn't want to be too harsh about anything. Although I would say that 5 of the 6 boards I really liked, and on the right conditions, they each could have been maybe the best board.
Yeah, so I think before I put my tinfoil hat on and go into the boards and like what you knew, if it was a CI or the Dan Man and all that stuff, I wanted to, I think one of the main criticisms outside of, obviously people have been loving the series, but was the quality of surf. And people were a little
Yeah.
disappointed on, just hoping to get better waves. How important is good surf for testing boards? And I mean, you've ridden tens of thousands of surfboards by now. Is it a thing where you can just jump on and feel how it goes straight away, regardless of how good the waves are? Or do you really need that quality surf to give it a full test?
There seems like a couple waves in the world that really tell you really quickly, like lowers, I think, and J Bay are 2 waves that just have the right kind of speed and curve, and maybe Cloud Break, like those kind of waves that just you don't have to work for speed, so you really feel the rocker of the board, and you can feel the outline and just the curves of the board when you're on the face. Um, but then most of the surfing we're doing is not in good waves. 90% of the time you surf, the waves aren't great. So um, it should
99.
also 99. Yeah, well, you live at Emmawood or
Oh my God.
wherever.
Waves suck here.
Summertime in Santa Barbara is so hard, man.
Yeah.
You just got to put miles on a car and hope something up north's breaking, shark doesn't eat you.
What I was tripping on was the crowds was absolutely
Yeah,
insane.
yeah,
And
yeah. The Gold Coast crowds, you're just like hassling. You're trying to work out a board, but also like trying to settle into your place in the lineup, like get waves and stuff, and then you're hassling with people and trying to figure out a board. It's not probably the best time to do it, but I couldn't really go somewhere else
yeah.
just because, yeah, like I was just Kalani and I were trying to settle in with the kid, and we had very limited time on the Gold Coast. I basically shot the whole time I spent on the Gold Coast last year, and I didn't get much time the year before either. So I was trying to sort of bide my time and get a little bit of personal time and as much surf time as I could.
Okay, so diving into the, putting my tinfoil hat on, me and the other shapers aren't convinced you couldn't identify the Dan Man. You're notorious for playing chess, while the rest of us are playing checkers. Was that strategic, or you genuinely couldn't identify the Dan Man or the CI, a board that you'd ridden for 25 plus years of your life?
Well, Britt's never shaped me a board before, and so um, Britt's templates and rockers are all different from anything Al did. And then Al didn't even shape me a board for the last like at least maybe 5 years I was on CI. He made me one for my 40th birthday as a birthday present. It's the last board he ever made me. Um, and that was it had been a couple of years before he had made me one besides that. So um, I only guessed. I thought I was like sure I knew 3 of the boards, and I only guessed 2 right. I think in the end I got the Paizel and the Sharp Eye.
Because I know enough about Paizel, that's a Paizel. He tucks the rail a lot. It's super rounded. It's almost 50-50, super forgiving. I don't know.
I thought that Brit was a Hanley. I thought the Hanley was a Biolis. And then when I realized they weren't, then I was like, man, I just got in my head and I was like, I don't know which board's which now. So I think I only picked out the Paizel and the Sharp Eye. Sharp Eye was obvious, and the Paizel's obvious because of his down rails and really soft edges. And then the other ones, like Dane said, they were so similar in look. They were just like a little maybe bump wing round tail. So they're all very similar, and the rails even. I just started getting in my head, and they were all painted the same. Like there was no paint on them. So then I was like going, wait, what board? Where did I ride this one before? And I was mixing up which surf I was on. So I actually didn't pick the Dan Man. I thought it was one of 3 boards, but I didn't know which. And then yeah, I just had it wrong. I was sure the Brit was a Hanley because it had orange paint on the stringer, and I thought I had seen some Hanleys before that had orange or green paint along the stringer, like painted on the wood before they pressed the board together. And so I just then I was like, you know what, whatever, just ride the boards and see what feels good. So
I thought the CI nose would have given it away because they always have the same noses on all their boards and they're pretty different from everyone
afterwards,
else.
afterwards it did when somebody pointed that out because they flatten them, and that was a thing that Al started doing well before I was ever on Channel Islands. But Al always like just flattened the nose off, but I just didn't think about it because I don't know, it's not an Al, so.
And staying on the L topic and the Merricks, like you guys have had an incredible relationship, and you haven't seen episode 3, but that comes up in episode 3, and just the story of you and the Merrick family, and then Britt, and then starting your own company with that. It seemed like there was some miscommunication there, like you had communicated with Al, but maybe hadn't got back to the CI guys.
And all of a sudden, Travis just told us, hey, Kelly and I are doing this thing. That felt like a gut punch. And when he left with some of our key people and their board company tapped into some of our key lines of distribution and accounts and directly targeted us, that's gnarly. My dad was really hurt by it. Even though he was retired, he hasn't quite gotten over that. That felt like deep betrayal.
Have you and Britt spoken since the episode aired?
No, we haven't. I texted him. Sam told me that he said during the interviews it got pretty emotional for Britt, and I was like, "Oh, really? Wow. What was it?" And he just kind of gave me a rundown. So because I haven't seen the episode, I don't know the whole context, but other than what Sam told me, and he just said like, basically sort of brought Britt to tears in some way because he was so emotional about it and stuff, and then. It's weird when you see stuff online and you just hear like one sentence or one soundbite, and um, you can't, whatever, you can't please everybody, and
No,
you die trying. But I'll just tell you, I'll give you my perspective. When the Firewire thing came up, it was super hard. Like, look, it was hard enough for me to leave Quicksilver. It was harder to leave CI for me, by far, because that's so personal to me. Al and Terry have been family, and Britt and I were very close when we were younger. But we've just been on different paths for so long that we're just not geographically close these days. So we don't communicate a lot. But after Sam told me that, I texted Britt and I just said, hey, Sam mentioned that some things came up and maybe we should just get on the phone and talk. And I don't know if Britt just didn't want to reply to it or didn't, either he didn't feel comfortable or he was like, I'll reply to this later on, but we haven't linked up to talk about it. But I don't know. I called Al the second that the Firewire thing came up before I went down the road on potentially buying Firewire. And I said, this thing has come up, and I said, I can't even make any kind of move on this unless I have your blessing. And Al just said, look, personal is one thing, business is another. You do what's right for you, and you're still, I just treat you like my son, and we're great. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, I think when you watch the episode, you'll see that. I think Sam and Stab did a nice job of framing that up, like exactly how you explained it. Britt's got his side, your side, and then, okay, it seems like you had spoken to Al, but not to Britt, and that's where the kind of communication fell over. Yeah. But looking back on all those boards that you wrote, because one of the wildest things I noticed from all the episodes is just your memory, your ability to remember waves. Like even 4 or 5 hours after the session, you talk about a certain wave and you can remember every detail of it. Looking back on it, could you remember like which boards felt the best and first like how they placed? Was there one that you stood up on straight away that felt incredible? And don't give it away because episode 4 will drop after this. But yeah, was there a specific one or two boards that you just felt, oh wow, this thing feels incredible from the get-go?
It was weird, like the Sharp Eye. It was I rode the Sharp Eye and the Hanley in the first session, and clearly the Sharp Eye was better to me. I felt like I really had to figure out how to make the Hanley work, and it just wasn't working. And I don't think I'm giving anything away there. I think there's a clip of Hanley watching me surf his board, but in the very first session, I was struggling already, and
Here we go. Oh my God, look at this thing. Oh my God. There he goes. Here's the wave. This will prove something. It proves that the board's not very good.
I put my foot in my mouth a lot, but that afternoon was one of the worst I'd done. I was over there hanging out before Stab High Japan and got to surf with these guys a bunch. And Kelly was in the water. I was surfing with him and Mikey out at Back of Snapper. And Darren came down and he was sitting
oh
with Luke
shit.
Monroe watching, and they were filming you. And I was like, is that the Darren or the Hanley? And they were like, no, it's not. And I was like, oh, whatever that is, it's going straight to the trash. That's the worst board. And I saw Luke Monroe's face just go white as I said that. And I realized in that second that it obviously was. And Sam was trying to create this cool moment where you came down, Darren came down and watched you surf his board. And, hopefully there'd be some hanging out afterwards, and it just backfired in his face. And Darren took it pretty well, but you can tell
That's
when you
so
watch
funny.
the episode back how emotionally torn up he was. And I guess my question there is, he went and shaped something completely unique. Like, would you have rather him just shaped you a Juliet or one of his other boards that his team riders are riding versus something completely unique, what he probably thought you wanted to ride?
Yeah, it looks so different. You could probably almost do a documentary on each shaper and the mindset, like a 10-minute doc on like, do they want to shape the best board possible? Do they want to take like you, you could almost go out in your, like you said, the tinfoil hat zone, your conspiracy mind, and go, well, maybe Darren took a crazy chance for shaping something he's never shaped, so that if he didn't win, it was like, oh well, I made a piece of shit. Um, but on the other hand, if it would like struck gold, it might be something that he could use that everyone would want to ride. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I've worked on a few
I
of these
didn't,
through the years.
I didn't, I just going to say that I didn't know that that was his board um, at that time. And I thought, I really thought that was a mayhem for whatever reason. Just because like Matt's a bigger guy and I've been at lowers before and I've seen Matt's boards that he rides. And, and I think he also made fun of my like dad bod or something. Like I'm like 10, 15 pounds heavier than I've ever been. And so I was like, I think Biolis just shaped me like this big, thicker thing with fuller rails and wider tail and stuff. And
Funny.
he wants me to like ride some flat wave or something. But so I was like convinced that the Hanley was a mayhem or that I thought the Brit was a Hanley. I thought the mayhem, I thought the Hanley was a mayhem. That was like I was all over the place. So at that time on that day, I didn't know that was a Hanley. And then I remember Sam saying Hanley said something like, if that's my board, he said something like, oh, that better not be my board or something. And he watched me surf and was like, that thing looks terrible. And I don't know. I just didn't want to be that critical of anyone's shape, because I have shaped probably 40 boards in my life, and I've had friends ride them, and uh, one or two they didn't like, and it just like kind of it's like, oh man, I put a lot of energy and time into that, and if that's just that's just like something I'm doing for fun. But I can imagine if it's your life and somebody, pro surfer ride your board and go, this thing sucks. It's like a dagger, like there's like no respect there. So it's a different perspective when you've shaped a few boards and you can kind of like understand the position the shaper's in.
Yeah, I noticed this. I worked on a few of these through the years, and kind of the first one, and then got to do the one with Dane. But the shapers, I mean, these guys knew who they were shaping for. So you see Darren in that episode 2 or 3, he calls Mick and asks him what kind of boards Kelly likes, and they kind of have some dialogue there. But one of the biggest things I noticed was shapers, first of all, who they think the person is, and then they go away from what they would traditionally shape and try to create something what they think you would like. And it seems
Yeah.
to generally backfire.
Well, I think that takes away, that sort of pasteurizes down surfboards too much into this one kind of thing, because I really like that I grew up in the 70s through the early 80s starting surfing, and when I started in the sort of mid late 70s, it was all single fins going to twin fins, and then twin fins in the early 80s went to thrusters really quick. So I really saw the whole evolution of boards, and everyone got to thrusters really quick, and I feel like it was too quick. Like I feel the twin fins didn't get enough time, and I think I mentioned that in here. But the other thing was that we didn't have YouTube and all this stuff where you could just put clips up all the time. You'd have to wait for a surf movie to come through town. And everyone didn't travel like they do now. And they didn't have surf forecasting like they did. And they didn't have clips on Surfline or whatever. And so there was pockets of really good surfers in different areas, and designs were coming out of that. And notably, in '87, I went to the Gold Coast when I was 15 years old, and I surfed with Jason Buttonshaw, and I got to look at a bunch of the board shapes there, and they all had this kind of kick tail. And if you look at mixed boards, he has a lot of kind of accentuated rocker through the tail, but he also rides a bigger fin to offset that, his back fin. And so it's like the bigger fin gives more drive, but the more rocker helps you sit in the pocket in these hollow waves that they grew up surfing. So boards were really designed for the style of waves they were made for in that area, not for a wave on the other side of the world. So now we're all, all the pros have boards that will work, we're hoping, everywhere, but they're not specifically for any one spot. So when somebody's, I don't know, trying to change what they have for the guy, I think that's kind of wrong, because I want to feel what a shaper has. Like if you're going to just make something that you think I like already, I could just go get a computer shape that I already do, then I already know I like, and I'll just keep riding that. I want to feel like what's unique to that shaper. I don't know how do you feel about that, Dane? Like different shapers.
Yeah,
like
are you
that.
saying that's kind of a flaw of the board of how the boards were delivered to you?
Maybe so, yeah. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have liked to see more variety. I would
Yeah.
have liked to see the shapers get a little more creative and variety, just to see you ride some different equipment.
I
Like
think
I
that's
would
why I would
love to
like
see
that.
you on like a Ryan Birch, or like
Yeah.
that would be insane.
I think that's why I would like the electric acid probably better in a way.
Yeah.
I like tuning boards down right to very specific things. It's like you're going down this branch of a tree, and it's like, okay, what's the outermost limit of this, and what gets really precise. But then, like, if all of it's on that same branch of the tree, it's kind of a little monotonous. So I want to go up there, and I want to go down there and try these other things and different fins. And I mean, uh, to try and I guess to try and decipher the boards, I was using the same fins. I would go thruster or quad, but I tried to go thruster and quad on each board, and they're all my fins that I'm used to. But maybe the better way is just to have the board delivered with the fin that was made for their type of shape and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, like a Ryan Birch ASIM or something would be much more interesting with his fins than my fins for sure.
I like that too.
And
When the shaper decides the fin that you're going to try it in, I remember requesting that when I did it.
And
yeah,
I forgot the stretch fins at home when we shot that one with you.
Yeah, I want to know what fin they think is going to work in it.
yeah, they should know better for that design than I would or you would.
It seemed like the quads, though, where people reacted and watching the footage back, it felt like the quads were significantly better for the waves you're surfing in Oz.
Maybe because they're a little soft, and I just feel like you get a little bit, maybe you get a little bit more drive off the quad.
Do you still ride like the same equipment as like how much has your equipment evolved over the past couple of years?
I don't know. About 10 years ago, I was making a lot of boards with Weber, and they're really rockery and you know, heavy rockers, but very smooth rockers. There's no kick points, and so there's not one very specific sweet spot. And then he had very different fins too. Like if I was doing electric acid, I would throw Weber in there for sure because his boards are they're so out of the box compared to what other people make.
I
Um,
guess what I'm asking is if your equipment's changed since you aren't on tour full time.
I,
Like what you want to ride
uh,
every day.
I've been traveling without boards. I'll just go wherever I have some boards and just ride something that's there as opposed to just taking like maybe if I have a board I really love, I'll grab it and throw it with me. But I try to just go, oh, when I get there, I'll ride something that's in my garage or whatever. But I still like that. I still like tuning in a performance board, but I am riding more like twins and maybe a little bit more foam here and there. And
Hmm.
I don't know. I haven't been surfing much the last couple of years though, because my injuries. So
In
I'm
pain.
not I'm not sharp like I was, maybe.
Me neither.
Yeah. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the dad club. But you're slowly making your evolution into Tom Curran, right? We're going to see you riding skimboards with foam on top, and he was
That's not
notorious
gonna
for not
happen,
taking ball. No, we're not going to go that
No,
far.
yeah, I will tell you that might happen. If I'm out surfing with Tom Curran and he's riding one of those and I can convince him to ride my board, then I might ride one of those.
You talked about having gone to the Gold Coast from a young age and spent so much time. Then you've got this amazing community of people there and some really close friends like Luke Munro and more. It felt like you were getting messages every day from every corner of the Gold Coast and Queensland and New South Wales of where the best waves were. And did that paradox of choice, Sam wrote about it in the weekly email last week, just about that challenge of kind of committing to a spot. Is that something you kind of have that battle with everywhere you go, just because the amount of people telling you it's pumping where they are so they can surf with you?
Yeah, I keep hearing people kind of talk about that. Maybe because Sam wrote about it, but I mean, if you can surf the best wave that's around, don't you try to do that? That's kind of,
Yeah,
I don't know. I think anyone tries to do that, but
not
yeah,
Dan.
if you
Dane does it. He goes to the worst
Nah.
wave with the less people.
well, I am kind of where was I the other day? I was somewhere. I surfed somewhere in Hawaii last week, and I remember it was much worse than backdoor was. I can see backdoor from my house. And backdoor and pipe had some fun waves. Like backdoor was like 4 to 6 foot and like some really good waves, but there was like 60 people out. And I just went and surfed out in front of my house and it's like mushy sandbar, like not good. But there's very few people out there. And I'm becoming that guy, Shane Dorian, I talk about all the time. I'm like, man, I'll just surf like inferior waves nowadays. Uh, but if I'm on a trip, like trying to chase waves, then I want the best waves. But like if I'm at home and it's just like shitty there with no one out and like pretty good over there, but a lot of people, I'm kind of over surfing with people now.
Do people ever give way to you when you paddle for a wave?
Yeah, but I get both. So I get people who give way and then I get people who are like out to like snake me. So I get a little bit
You
of
talked
both.
about like going up the pecking order at the end of the last episode, and I was
How do you feel about that?
well. You had a couple different points of it, but it is insane to me. There's a clip where a guy just staunchly will not give way to you at snapper, and I was like, that should be a penalty. That's just ridiculous. Like, it's crazy when I don't know somebody would not. If you were, I don't know, I would give way. Like, it's crazy. This clip. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
I haven't seen it, I don't think.
I don't know. I just can't believe a guy would like see you paddling for a wave at snapper and then just put their head down and paddle harder.
Like on the shoulder from me or deeper from me?
He's deeper than you, but still,
Oh.
you want the wave, and you're Kelly Slater. Like, I don't know.
Well, but there's all sort of nuance there. You don't know.
I
Like,
know.
did he
I
grow
know.
up surfing that spot? Like, where is he in that pecking order, that lineup? All those kind of things, and
It doesn't look like it.
It doesn't. But that's the most unique thing about surfing, right? Like, what other sport could you just roll up and paddle out and take waves from, the greatest surfer of all time or your heroes? Whereas, you could never do that on the basketball court with Jordan.
And then want a photo on the
Tiger
beach
Woods.
after.
Yeah, totally.
I always think about it. I laugh about it with golf, and I know how dorky golf is for Dane thinks it is, but like golf is like it's a very country club sport. It's like very old school, and they got all this set of rules, and it's much more like formal, right? And I imagine like, what if you went to a golf course where there was locals? Like, I mean, there's locals obviously, and you don't go like to a private course and act like a dork, but like, what if you pulled up and guys like, no, I'm fucking playing right now. We're teeing off, like you're not playing here today, and they could just like muscle you out. It'd be so funny.
It'd be kind of sick.
It'd be funny as hell.
You would never flex that muscle though, Dane. You're way
Maybe
too
there's
mellow.
one of those in like Oxnard, like one of those country clubs. Or something.
Oxnard Country Club.
I've been getting
JP's saying my
targeted.
buddy's thing.
Yeah, I've been getting targeted. I got some stickers. And then Kelly.
The pecking order is very interesting to me, though, and kind of maddening, especially here, because a lot of people don't ride shortboard, so they have an unfair advantage over shortboarders of catching waves. And then you see the way they're just stand there and do it over and over and over again. I just want to say sometimes, like, how many fucking waves do you need, dude?
I saw there was a guy out behind my house the other day on a soft top, and he could take off like 30 feet outside of everybody on the soft top, and and he would just take off and he would get like on the shoulder, but he like there was all this room behind him if you could catch it, but it's just so funny. Like I don't know, it's a mad that is like you said, it's a maddening discussion because like what is right? What are the rules? There was this
Yeah.
post somebody put up and said um, San Diego or California maybe is thinking about I don't know if this guy was just like trolling or what, but he was saying they're thinking about giving licenses for surfing and like for surfing certain spots and like maybe taxing people or something. And I wrote a comment and I said, well, that at once sounds like the best and worst idea I've ever heard. And best because maybe it would thin the lineups out, and worse because I just think there should be absolutely no rules like that, you know? But it's just
I
a never-ending debate.
Yeah, kind of in the same vein. I've been thinking about Rincon versus lowers
What is
and
Rincon
how
going to do? Like it's already over the top, but imagine another 20 years.
I know there's going to be too many There's not. It won't be fun for anyone.
Well, let me ask you guys both a question. Oz, like at Snapper, the level of surfing is significantly higher. Everyone kind of rips, and then equally as crowded Rincon, the level of surfing is extremely low.
Well, everyone just rides as big of a board as they can to get the advantage on catching one. That's the problem at Rincon, I think. But go ahead.
Yeah,
with
but
what
like
you're saying.
lowers, what you're saying, it feels like it just, even lowers compared to other waves, just feels like it works a bit better when there's people that can surf and the skill level's a bit higher versus just adult learners.
Well, I have a theory about there's so many good kids that come out of San Clemente, and I
Yeah.
think it's because good surfers control the lineup, and you grow into the lineup, into the pecking order. Whereas at Rincon, it's like a resource for all these kids that could be training or getting good at surfing, but instead it's just longboarders taking every fucking wave. And there's a lot less good kids here because that's what I feel.
You obviously
Dane's
haven't
gonna
surfed
get,
lowers.
Dan, you're going to get canceled, man.
No, Dane hasn't surfed lowers with Yaden and his kids yet.
No,
I
I'm just
actually
kidding
haven't.
because just because like people are like, you don't own the ocean, no one owns it. But if you've spent
Totally.
20 years,
Yeah, it's
if you've spent
complicated.
20, 30, 40 years surfing a spot and some guy's been surfing for 2 years, I'm sorry, but he should be on the shoulder. Like he just, you
Totally.
got to earn your way up, like it's my metaphor is you don't move in your neighborhood and start blasting your music without knowing everyone and start throwing loud parties. Like you got to know your neighbors. You got to like earn some respect even like in your neighborhood, before
Totally.
people will accept you. And the ocean's just another neighborhood with people that are from that area.
I kind of see it like you're standing in line to get groceries. Someone just goes to the front of the line. And I don't know. There's like just a weird,
But
and it's
look,
always just like
if
a
there's
weird
an
chess match out there
but
with a bunch of
if you're in
jokers.
line with if you have a huge grocery basket and you got some like 80-year-old woman walks up behind you and she's got a couple things, she should go first.
Yep.
She's spent her
Priority.
time. She spent her time.
Anyways, back to that. I just can't believe that a dude that looks like he's only been surfing a few years would look at you paddling for a wave and not go like, yeah, Kelly,
Don't-
go.
It's a virus out at Snapper because you will have like sometimes you'll turn around and paddle for a wave and you'll see somebody like who just jumped off the rock who's not a great surfer. They'll just like it's almost like they see you paddling. They're like, this is a good one. I have to go and take this wave.
Oh, there's
And then
that
he just
too,
gets
yeah.
pitched over the backwash, and you're like, that was great, thanks.
But I feel like with Dane, it's the opposite. Like he doesn't even look at a wave if he sees someone paddling. Meanwhile, most
Oh,
people
if someone
are so
looks like they
stoked.
want it more than me, I just am like, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, even though the person would be stoked to see you ride the wave. I noticed that in South Africa, guys are like looking at you, like, please turn around and go. And you're not even looking at it, you're just paddling over.
I don't know. I feel like surfing brings out the worst in people. It's so competitive. Just waves are a commodity, and it's, I don't know, kind of maddening.
Just one last point on that, Dane. What do you think about like there's certain waves? I always make this comparison to snowboarding or skiing. If you go up a mountain and your skill level's not double black diamond, you're going to go on like a different run. But
Yeah.
it seems like in surfing, like now people are wearing the helmets and they got their float and they got this and that, and their skill doesn't match the danger or the the uh the the ability of the wave, but then they want to go surf that wave, as opposed to
Yeah.
surfing a wave that would help advance their surfing quicker and they wouldn't be in the way. like I do jujitsu, I don't jump on the mat with black belts and be like, I'm jumping in with you guys. I want to sit there and watch because I suck. I want
Yeah,
to
totally.
learn. And
Yeah.
I almost get frustrated watching Dane surf because he is so nice in the water, and he'll be at Rincon like down the line or even at lowers, and like I'm going, Dane should be on every single wave out here, but he's like too nice to fight with people.
I'm bad at I'm just really bad. One of my worst qualities in surfing is reading waves. I'm so bad at it. I want to see a wave coming at me, so I sit on the inside and just get ruled.
Yeah, it's extremely frustrating surfing and watching you out there. That was so cool about the Rincon Classic, Kelly. The waves are pumping, and these guys got it with just 3 or 4 guys out that afternoon.
I just watched a clip of the Recon Classic. It looked fun.
This guy was going
super
mad.
fun.
But you were saying the thing about snowboarding and the double black diamond. That's last time I snowboarded was a couple of years ago. I'm not a big fan of snowboarding and almost broke my back. But I remember sitting at the bottom of the mountain that morning, waiting for them to open, and just thinking it's insane that you can just buy a lift pass and go to the very top and then ride down, especially in America with all the rules and regulation and getting sued in that. Anyway, then I was in a stretcher getting carried out of there.
You didn't read the fine print on the back of your ticket that said like, "Yet we have no liability for your choices."
Is there any other sport in the world where you have to fight for the opportunity to perform? That's what drives me nuts about surfing.
Yeah, I wonder. I was in South Africa at this at the Quick Shop once, and there's a skate. They had a skate ramp. You ever go to that shop near J Bay and that a skate ramp in the back?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and there was a couple guys who were pretty good skaters, and like I grew up skating, and I can probably ride a 4 or 5 foot ramp, but I'm not like a shredder at all. I can't do airs and stuff. And I could ride this back and forth and blah blah, but there was a guy who was like way worse than me, and he was jumping on every possible run he could in between, like jumping the line and stuff. And there were a couple guys who were good that I wanted to watch skate and just like kind of, oh, maybe I could learn how to do that. And this guy just would drop in and barely make the drop, and he almost couldn't go back and forth like 2 or 3 times. And you could see all the skaters getting mad, like, dude, just get out of the way. Like, what are you doing? And he
Yeah.
just couldn't pick up on, he just had no awareness at all. And yeah, it's kind of like you see that in surfing, but at least at a skate ramp, the ramp's not going anywhere. The tide and wind aren't going to change, and
Yeah.
the swell's not going to die, but it's still frustrating.
Well, that's exactly it, right? Like the finite resource of surfing, and people have an hour after work, so they just make an absolute pig of themselves. And yeah, I get it. I'm becoming that guy with limited time and got to get as much waves as possible.
What do you
But I
think
wanted
about Groms? What do you think about Groms who are homeschooled? Like, I resent that people are homeschooled now, but I'm probably gonna homeschool my kids. But I like resent that I'm homeschooled. I wasn't homeschooled because like I spent so many years in school, and now you go down to like trestles at like 11 o'clock on a Tuesday, and there's like 40 kids out like getting sets, and you're like, man, I envy that position, but I also hate it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Is it that it's just for professional surfing? They're all trying to be pros because there's like,
I just
yeah, I
feel
don't
like
know. I think
just feel
school's
like
good
we
for
paid our
kids.
I feel like we just paid our dues by going to school, and now it's like I don't know. It's just a
Yeah,
funny.
no,
I
I
think
hear
it's a
you.
personal thing because I could never get days off of surfing, like of school to go surf, and maybe I'm just like
Yep.
jealous of kids nowadays.
I know.
But Jordy talks a lot about this. Him and I always talk about it, how kids they don't surf as much as I think we used to, just because they have so many distractions and, like you're saying, a lot more time and a lot more access to different waves, and they're traveling more. Whereas felt like when we were young, you just got dropped at the beach and you surfed all day and every spare second you had because you had school in that. Whereas these days, the kids are kind of, they're either doing homeschool or they're distracted on their phone. They're just not kind of hanging out and putting as much time in the water.
Yeah, I remember when I was like 14, we moved to a house that was like 2 miles, 2.5 miles to the beach inland, and my mom worked, so I couldn't get a ride from after school to surf. So I had to ride my bike, and I didn't have a bike rack, so I had to hold it under my arm. And the only time we have waves in Florida is when the wind's onshore, and so I'm going to the beach with my board under my arm, and I was like I was like a skinny little kid, and it was like such work. Like I think I really respected surfing after that couple of years that we lived that far from the beach because I really had to work to get to the surf, and I would
Mhm.
only get a few hours a day. But anyways, that's growing up in Florida. There's no waves anyways.
Yeah, it's crazy you can get so good with such like short rides and stuff because it's just quick beach break stuff.
Yeah,
Like you don't have all that much time on a board, it seems.
and the waves are just so weak, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But so many good surfers come from there.
I I think that was because, and we're getting off track, I guess, but that was because we had Sebastian, which had a little bit of energy, and it
Mm-hmm.
had this really good crew of surfers, and there was the gnarliest pecking order I ever saw anywhere in the world. Like I would say it was like equal to Pipeline relative to the waves. Was Sebastian growing up? There was a pecking order. There was about 20, 30 local guys that just, if you weren't one of them, you didn't catch a wave next to the jetty at first peak, and you got kicked out of the water or sent down the beach. And like I grew up surfing it, and I still couldn't get a wave because I was too young and I was a little kid, and they just went, nope, this is our wave, Grom, beat it. And I think that fueled a lot of that like competitive, like you got to get good and then you'll get respected
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. But like there was the Hobgoods and the Lopez brothers and Todd Holland, and like we had a lot of really good surfers from Central Florida, you know. But Sebastian's not good wave anymore. It's gone.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's everybody's always been blown away by the amount of quality surfers that come out of there. But I wanted to move on, Kelly. I don't know how much more time you've got, but I wanted to first of all get your take on the new qualification for the Olympics and see what you thought. That's been pretty hot topic the last week or so.
Yeah, I only kind of got like a couple texts about it. I haven't tuned in too much, but I guess it was they were talking about reverting it to the ISA games as opposed to the World Tour.
Yeah, only 5 qualifiers from the on the men's and women's side qualify from the CT, and
Yeah,
then you got to qualify through the ISA as, and then also they won't take the previous year's ranking. They'll take after the first 4 or 5 events, and then cut it off after that part, and then whoever's sitting the highest then will qualify for the Olympics on the CT side.
yeah, that's crazy. The best surfers in the world are on tour, you know, and that's part of the reason, like, me and I think other people that were on tour were stoked that Dane was on tour because, that that kind of showed that the best surfers in the world were on tour, and it gave credibility. I think Dane, you being on tour, like gave a lot of credibility to the tour, even though,
Thank you.
it doesn't seem
That's
like,
very
well,
nice.
it didn't seem like your heart was super, like it wasn't like you love competition, but it was a place to like to perform, like whatever, to like a stage to do it on. But
Mm-hmm.
it lent because, I think all of us agree you were doing the best surf in the world around that time, and it lent credibility to the tour. And I think you will have these outliers, one or two guys or girls that are the best in the world that aren't on tour, but let's face it, the best surfers in the world on tour, that's where they all are. It's stupid to not use the World Tour as a qualification. It's like so simple. And I really like Fernando, and I appreciate what he's done for surfing. If it wasn't for him, I don't think surfing would be in the Olympics right now. But I think it's crazy to revert it to the ISA games where you have a different format. You have 4-man heats. You have these teams you have to be on a certain way to get in, et cetera. It's like it it creates a bigger potential for an international field in the Olympics, but a 100% chance the field won't be as good. And to me, that's crazy.
Yeah, it feels like a major miss to water down the product, especially on
Yeah,
the
I,
global stage.
I mean, I don't know if that just opens up the opportunity to make it easier. I mean, obviously, whoever qualifies off the tour is going to make them easier to win a medal, which is great for them. But it's also going to potentially have this thing where maybe people will start to boycott. I don't know, because they're like, this is just silly. Like we're spending our whole lives and our whole year to get on this tour to qualify and be with the best in the world, but now we have to go do this completely other qualification to get in the Olympics. Like, who's running the show here? It's silly.
Yeah. Do you think, and question for both of you, do you think that surfing in the Olympics should be in a wave pool?
I'm interested to hear Dane's point first.
Um, I don't know. Surfing's just so hard. Um, like I thought that it was uh, maybe, yeah, just a controlled environment. I don't know.
Mm.
I'm interested to hear what Kelly says.
I think it 100% should be, and not because I have a wave pool technology. I don't care which pool it's in, but I think that I don't know if you're doing gymnastics, you don't have a different floor that people do their exercise on. You don't have a different ice rink. You don't have a different half pipe. You don't have a different flow of water for kayak. You have this standardized place, and you have to go use that standardized place. And maybe your skill doesn't match that technology exactly right, but you got to figure that out. So maybe it could be a multitude of pools where maybe you surf, like for instance, Surf Ranch would be like a whole long ride, and then you use like a Waco style wave for like airs and different maneuvers, and you have this compiled score that could give so you'd make it fair for anyone who's like specified in one thing or another. I just think it creates a standardized field, and you're looking at more apples to apples as opposed to like, obviously, you watch the last Olympics, this well was dying in Tahiti. There was a definite luck factor at play, and if you got the good waves, you were going to win as this well was dying. So I think all you really need to do is provide ample opportunity in a more fair structure for Olympics. I don't think like some of the surf pool stuff has been the most exciting or fair way for World Tour events. I would agree with a lot of people. Like Surf Ranch, I think is super fun when you take your groups of friends and stuff. I don't know if it's very exciting for a surf contest on the tour. In theory, it was. Kolohe was the first person to say, "Why don't we have a contest here at Surf Ranch?" And I'm like, "That's kind of a good point." He goes, "It's better than 99% of the waves you surf in the ocean every day. Maybe it's not as good as the top waves, but it's like better every day on average." But it becomes monotonous for people. But I think the Olympics, just to wrap that up, I think that would be a more fair way to do the Olympics.
Yeah, you've only got 24 surfers on each side, right? So you could have that scheduled programming too, can bring in a lot of sponsorship and opportunities.
And that was a problem with Tahiti. Not for surfers. It was great for surfers because we were the only live event, 12 hours difference from the time zone in France. But if you're going to schedule it in and say surfing's going to be on this day and you're going to get the viewership or whatever, you schedule it in and turn the machine on.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said about the Olympics. I hadn't really thought of that before, but yeah, makes a lot of sense. I surfed the Surf Ranch with Griffin a few years ago, and I was just absolutely blown away how surfing is so much different in the pool, where he has like a routine. He does a certain turn at the certain pole, another one at the next pole. It's crazy. I was like, had never thought of surfing like that before, and he was telling me about where he places one turn versus the next according to the poles on the thing. I was just like, oh no, I don't know if I can. I can't think like that.
No, I would say it's like antithetical to Dane Reynolds or maybe Tom Curren's surfing or something, because the ocean's so free and creative, and it's like you just react to the moment. Whereas at Surf Ranch, or any of the other wave pools, you can plan out and do it over and over and over and get it like wired. So then
it turns into a routine, huh?
It doesn't feel natural. It feels planned, which surfing is the most natural sport in the world. It's not planned out. And so it feels like I said, like antithetical to what surfing is on some level. But also what it's doing is it's refining this one thing down to a performance, and it's just used for one thing. And then you go and you scrap that and start over again.
Yeah, no, I think it's cool. I just was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to develop this routine. Like, I'll just kind of ride the wave.
Yeah.
Do you think?
But hey, Griffin rips in that thing. There was years ago, he did this one where he like 1, 2, 3 crazy turns before the barrel, and the last one he flipped the tail out. He full tail slide and was going backwards on the nose, and it barreled over him while he's still going backwards and flipped it around the tube. And I was like, well, that's such a unique thing I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
No one had even thought about that in the pool before. It was really cool.
On that, exactly what you're saying, do you think they put too much emphasis on the barrel in the events, in the CT events at least?
I think commentary did. I don't know if the scoring did. I know what you're saying, but I think that they were like putting a timer on for the tube ride. It doesn't matter how long you're in the tube. What matters is how far you got back on the foam ball, how critical the tube ride was at some point, and if you got out of there. Who cares if you're in there for 13 seconds or 11 seconds or 9 seconds? It doesn't matter if you could be in a pocket for 13, 14 seconds and it's not whatever. It's kind of goofy. But how 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 did you transition through it? Did you get back on the foam? Did it look like you weren't going to make it and you did? That's a good tube ride. It doesn't have to be long. It just has to be like that could be 3 seconds.
Yeah, that makes
But I
sense.
don't know if I think they put probably too much emphasis on the final turn. If I watched enough, because I saw a lot of waves that weren't surfed great in the beginning, and they were finished great, like with a big air or one big turn or whatever. And so it makes up for like you almost forget the stuff in the beginning. But I wanted them to hopefully like almost cut the wave in thirds. Like, what'd you do in the first third before the tube? How good was your tube ride? And then how good was your last third of your wave? Or maybe four parts, and you go, the finishing turn could be one big thing, but you take those as like two and a half, two and a half, two and a half, two and a half, and you kind of what's the potential you created from those? But I don't know. That's for very specific, like the Olympics. It would be very specific for that.
Yeah, the final turn shouldn't, ruin the rest of the wave if you don't make it, despite putting an incredible wave together in the most critical parts.
How about when you like make a psycho drop at say Chopo, you get this crazy barrel from like pulling way behind you, hit the foam ball, you come out and you fall out the tube. You've done all the hard stuff and you get a 1.5. But if you made it for a half second more, you got a 10. It seems to me like some of that other stuff should have been scored,
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like in the big wave thing, especially on the women's side, they kind of just started scoring, if they didn't make it to the shoulder, but just the sheer size and drop and everything of the wave
The
had a bit more
commitment,
impact
yeah.
there. Yeah, just the commitment side, right? Um,
Morris Cole gave me an idea for Chopo. He said, why don't they go, okay, the drop is a third, the tube is a third, and making the wave is a third. And so you could get like, if you fell out the tube, you didn't make the tube, but you could still get like a 6.5 or something for
Just for committing.
just for committing, like a free fall drop, committing, making it over a foam ball, and then you like catch your edge on the way out. But still a crazy ride.
will we see you got any desire left to compete at all?
Not
We'll
much.
see
I
you in
mean,
any events this year?
no, I think I have the wild card at pipe still for another. I thought they told me I could get it for 3 years. So obviously it's an event I love, and I feel like if my body's healthy, I can have my standard up at pipe. And I, I, they've invited me to do the Abu Dhabi event, but I don't know if I'm going to or not.
Yeah, that's a challenging one. Do you think, just jumping back to it, do you think the surfboard test, because initially Sam tried to do Stab in the Dark 10 in Abu Dhabi at your wave pool. Do you
Yeah,
think it would have been a better location to test all the boards, or?
to test boards that were quite similar, I think so, because it just repeating on the same, probably same argument for the Olympics. You're trying to do as much as you can to compare apples to apples, but then you're also saying this is the best board in these conditions. It doesn't necessarily make that the best shaper or the worst shaper, depending on where they end up in the lineup. Um, like I rode the Pizel, for instance, in small snapper that was kind of soft, and it just didn't feel that great. And then I rode it with some power out there one day, and I was like, oh, there it is. So different boards for different situations.
Awesome. Well, we got Stab in the Dark 10 final episode premiering next week on Stab Premium. So, guys, tune in. Thank you so much for the time, Kelly. Good luck in the golf
Yeah,
competition.
thank you for the time.
Yeah, and appreciate you jumping on.
Thanks, guys. Good to talk to you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
Take care.